I think we're going to start having a segment where we talk about crazy limited special edition for collectors for video games, because we've started talking about these quite often. We did it for The Last of Us, which is one of our most viewed videos on the channel. We've done it for the Dragon Ball Fighters Super Special Edition. That was like $200 or something like that. We did it for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. We like to talk about these because they are absolutely ridiculous. And the special editions that are going to be as of this moment only going to be available in Japan. There's been no Western release announced, although let's be real here. There's no reason why Capcom wouldn't release these crazy things in the US alongside the game's launch on January 25th. Nathan, if you want to get Resident Evil 2, you have options, sir, if you live in Japan or if you're going to import from Japan at this moment. So, you could buy a couple of different things to go with your hotly desired remake of Resident Evil 2.
Okay.
And that would be a USB keyboard modeled after the iconic typewriter from the Resident Evil series. That is the save point, by the way, for a Resident Evil game. I don't know if you remember that from our playthrough of our gameplay of Resident Evil 7.
Wasn't it?
Oh, you know what? You're right. Yeah, it was a tape recorder, which is new.
Right.
Before that, it's always been a typewriter. So, I have to say, I like the way this thing looks.
It does look nice, but they have those already.
Yeah, you don't have to spend the huge price on this version. Like, you can get a typewriter-style keyboard and spend a lot less money.
But I guess this one's like more specific towards the game.
Sure. And it's going to retail for 75,000 yen, which works out to about $675 US, just for the keyboard. It gets better, Nathan.
For the keyboard.
Just for the keyboard. It works on your PC, Mac, or tablet.
Well, hey, at least my money's well spent, you know.
Now, if you spend 82,800 yen or $750, you also get a copy of the game.
Wait, original was what?
Just the...
No, like the typewriter. What was that?
675. Now, if you spend 750,
you get the game?
You get the game with it, but you also get a typewriter ribbon prop. So,
wanted one of those.
So the reason why that it's this kind of neat is because I think it was the first 3 Resident Evil games. You couldn't just save when you get to a typewriter. You actually had to have ribbons, like ink ribbons, which old typewriters use to save. So if you didn't have a ribbon, you wouldn't be able to save your game.
Old typewriters use ink ribbons to save? What do you mean?
Old typewriters use ink ribbons to type.
Oh.
In the game, you had to find these ink ribbons like anything else. And if you didn't have an ink ribbon, when you got to a typewriter, you wouldn't be able to save a game.
Okay.
So, yeah, kind of an extra challenge.
But it just, you don't do anything with the ink ribbon in this.
No, that's why they're calling it a prop, or like a, it's like a Sonic statuette, but for Resident Evil folk.
Wow. Yeah.
Now, if you want to get super crazy and spend 99,000 yen or $900, just think of what you can spend $900 on. And in some cases, it may not be a very good car, but hey. So that includes the typewriter keyboard, 4 ribbons, and the boxed collector's edition of
everyone needs 4 of those things.
Yes, and the collector's edition includes a poster, art book, soundtrack CD, a Leon Kennedy figure, collector's box, and a code for additional DLC. Hopefully it's all of it. And but the collector's edition alone just simply goes for 24,800 yen or $225.
Do people like this game this much?
this is very much being looked forward to.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yes.
No, yeah, I think we talked about that a few weeks ago. It's like
Yeah.
considered like the best Resident Evil game, right?
Two of the original 3, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was like the best one before 4 came along.
Okay.
So, yeah, like I said, the keyboard looks really cool. Like, just looking at it makes me want to get one, but I wouldn't get like this one just because it's like
$600
almost. Yeah, it's like $675. No,
Is it? You can get this here though. Like in America, you can buy it because it's just Japanese, isn't it?
they're just releasing it in Japan. But I'm saying you can get a typewriter like this.
No. I'm just saying, like, can you get all this stuff? Like
Right now, it's only been announced for Japan,
Okay.
which is why all the prices are in yen.
Right.
But
They're expecting their fan base to be extremely rich.
here's the deal. I listened to another podcast called the CU Podcast, and they were talking about collector's editions and how one of the people on the podcast, one of the guys on the podcast, Ian, he works at a used game store, which is not GameStop. It's like more like a smaller mom and pop type style used game store. He said I remember hearing a couple weeks ago on their podcast that people will actually come into the store with a collector's edition for a game and expect to get a whole bunch of money for it. And he tells him, he's like, look, I can't give you that much money for it because I can't sell it for that much. Sure, I can put it, I know that this thing goes for like, $200 online for the collector's edition for this game, but no one's going to come into the store and buy this for $200, at least not within the next few months. Like, it may take years for someone to come into the store and be interested enough to pay that much money for these games.
Right.
So if people buy these expecting them to wait a few years when you can't get them anymore unless they're through a reseller, and Bethesda's not coming after you, don't call it new. If you're planning on doing that, these don't get value. Like, no one cares.
Right.
Only the game actually retains, will drop in value and then go back up after a certain amount of time.
The thing is too, it's like I don't know, collector's edition stuff isn't as cool when it's like used. Like, you want to get it like
cheap.
right off the bat.
I'm sorry, it's normally cheap stuff.
Yeah.
That you get. Like, it's not anything that's going to do more but take up space on a shelf somewhere. Yeah. And it's just the amount of money they charge for these things is just absurd.
You're like bashing collector's edition stuff. I was just like
looking over at my Sonic Mania collector's edition. That was actually very reasonable.
How much was that?
That was only like $50 or $60.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And the game was like $30, so I only paid like an additional $20 for something. I think
Right.
I think it was at the time I said I don't think it's worth it because the Genesis space is not very sturdy on that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. There's always like an element of cheapness to it.
Yeah.
Like something like the statue of Sonic itself. It's currently in its box right now, but the statue of Sonic itself, very well made. The thing that it sits on is like the cheapest plastic they could find.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I had known that going forward, I might not have bought it. So I kind of feel like they took a keyboard that you can probably buy for less than $100 and just Resident Evil branded it.
Yeah.
So please don't buy this. If you buy this, they will just make more. And if they make more, then we have to talk about it. And I don't want to talk about it. So please don't make me talk about it.